Hello, this is a Promicro video, and my name is Tonie. The last weeks I've been using OpenAI's Codex. This is a cloud offering of an agent that runs OpenAI's models. So what can you do with it? And why, Tonie, are you making this video? Well, I make this video because a lot of people I speak with are overwhelmed with AI and especially agents and agentic AI. And if you are a subscriber of OpenAI, this can be easily tested out with this Codex offering. So no agent installing, no containers running locally, etc., etc. OpenAI offers for some subscription models Codex. So what is Codex? So if you go to the website openai.com, there's this Codex introduction, and on this introduction page you can also read, I'm a ChatGPT team user, so I'm using it for a few weeks now, but Plus users, welcome aboard on this Codex adventure. So what is Codex? In your ChatGPT window, you will see Codex. And if you click Codex, a new screen will pop up, and this screen has the possibility to describe a task. And if you describe your task, you can either ask or code. But what are we asking and coding? Well, we are asking and coding this against our environment. And here, the environment Promicro and AdventureWorks is currently set up. So what are these environments? Well, for example, I've configured here AdventureWorks 2009. This is a SQL repository containing the schema models and a Flyway project. But it can also be just a website. And this is the Azure static page, and I can show you what I've done with that. I asked Codex, can you confirm that this is an Azure static website? And in 50 seconds, so it's not that fast because it will reason and will take more information in account before it will answer your question. And it says, yes, I can see that because I'm reading it in the README file, and I can also confirm it because of the GitHub actions. Then I asked it, can you advise me what kind of JavaScript framework will work on an Azure static website? Well, it comes with a variety of choice, and then I asked what's the best one. And it chose React. And then it said, then my question was, no longer an ask, but then a code. Please implement this. Implement React, come up with a responsive modern design, and all the categories that are already on my website, make them in nice sections, and also offer mentorships online. And then it came with a summary, and it altered a few files. Then ask it to commit it, but let's pause for a second here. So the current website looks like this. And GPT made me a pull request because from this page, I can easily go to the pull request. And this pull request has two files in it. So an updated style sheet and updated index HTML. And if I run, we won't go through all the code. If I run my site, this is the old one. And this is now the new one with collapsible sections and React framework implemented. Pretty nice, right? But what if my code wasn't JavaScript or HTML? What if my code was SQL Server, like this one? AdventureWorks database, SQL Server, with tables in it, etc. Is Codex then still interesting? Yes, it is. But first, we have to configure an environment. So if you go back to Codex and we say create new environment, we will see the GitHub organization that is linked with my OpenAI account. From here, I can choose my AdventureWorks database. It's already there, but still, let me just make a new name. I can choose with whom I share this, or just me or everyone within my organization. And here comes the interesting part. For now, there's only one container image that Codex will run, But you can imagine that new images will be there. Images specially made for example, SQL code, because this image doesn't really contain the scripting languages we need. But still, the results are very good. I can also put in some environment variables, some secrets, and last but not least, I can give it internet access. So will the container go to the internet to solve some dependencies or to gather new information? In all my tests of the past week, I chose no internet access. And with the creative environment, I will create an environment. I won't create it because we already have one. And if you go back to ChatGPT, if you go back to Codex, you will see that I also give some assignments, some tasks to Codex. So for example, to start with, track returned item restocking process. This is a task I gave it just a moment ago. How do we restock an item that a customer returned? Do we track the reason for return or what happened to them? Well, it took 1 minute and almost 30 seconds to see that at the moment it will be stored as in the transaction history table. Okay, there's also an inventory table involved, but the repository itself does not implement the real returning process functionality. Items can be tracked, but there's no support restocking returned items or restoring return reasons or storing return reasons. So then I changed my ask to a code assignment in a more user story way. So I say, as a return manager, I want a product return entity that records return items, well, you can read the rest here. And what it then did was pretty interesting because it said, okay, I'm now going to introduce a new table. I'm going to add some constraints. I'm going to document each column, etc., etc. And if we look closely to the code, we see there's a new table, create table, with all kinds of constraints and everything documented. The reason that it's documented is because all the rest of the repository is also documented. So it will mimic everything it will see. And if you look closely at the table, you will also see something interesting because you will see a row width is inserted. So there's a unique identifier for each row, which is the real signature of the adventure work database. All tables in the adventure work database have this row width. So the Codex agent digests the repository and tries to answer the questions. And whenever there's a coding assignment, it will try to code the way it saw in the repository. And from that point, I can say create a pull request, and the pull request will be made. And here we are. So let's now create a add product return table pull request with the summary it also gave us in the chat window. And here we see again what file has been created, all the documentation in it. And of course, this won't be perfect at start because it has to learn. It has to learn from your repository. And if your repository doesn't have any documentation or any comments in it, it will make assumptions. But I've been using this now for over 2 weeks on both my documentation repositories in Markdown and my SQL Server repositories. And from the questions I gave it, it answered them all the same way I would do. They were all right. And in the cases it didn't, it was not documented well. So it's very important that we up our game and get more documentation in there and better documentation so AI can help us to write better code. But I see that it's already 10 minutes. So I wanted a short introduction video. I want to invite everyone to look at their OpenAI subscription. And if you're Plus or higher, go to the website, go link your GitHub account and experiment with it. Ask it questions. let it code. And there are several settings I haven't discussed today, but it was only an introduction to invite you and to overcome the overwhelming AI agentic story. So if you like this video, please let me know, like, subscribe, etc., etc. This was the first of a Promicro video, and maybe there will be more.